Well, fellas, who's ready to win a European title? Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 95 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does the FM. I hope you are doing well, and it is a massive one today. It is the Europa League Final as we here at Völsungur do take on the giants of European football that are Liverpool. So if you are looking forward to this episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we aren't going to muck around too much before the start of this European final coming up later in today's episode as well. Off the back of this final, we will also do our end of European season roundup as well. But before we do get into things off the back of yesterday's episode, the semi-final against Sporting of Portugal, which if you did miss, I'll leave a link to over in the top right corner. We have just played a few domestic games trying to continue our form going into this big game against a very strong Liverpool team, a team who should really be in at the business end of the Champions League instead of at the business end of the Europa League. But we have played two games off the back of that to kick off the league season and have picked up fairly comprehensive wins in both of those over Hafnarfjordur away. That was with the first rotation, Paulo, Larson and Nygaard picking up second half goals thereafter. It was still a stalemate at halftime, and off the back of that, our rotation team did pick up a 5-0 win at home against Vestmannasia, a hat-trick to Bjarki Bjarkason. Mariano got a goal early, and Satole with a penalty right on the stroke of halftime as well. All the goal scoring in that game done in the first half, so we are in a good position nice and early in the league season, albeit not paying too much attention to that table just yet with only 2 games having been played, but at least we've kept our good little run of form going heading into this Europa League final, in which we are taking on Liverpool. They did win this competition 2 seasons ago. We had a look at this lineup at the end of yesterday's episode. It has changed a little bit since then, so not too sure if this team is that accurate for this Europa League final. I think that the tactic and team that they did have in their lineup there at the end of yesterday's episode was a lot stronger than this one, so that means they've probably rested their best 11 players heading into this Europa League final towards the end of the Premier League season, where you can see that they did finish second in the Premier League. So we are taking on a very, very strong Liverpool team here in this Europa League final, but we have had a good run through to the final ourselves, albeit we have not had to take on a team quite as big as Liverpool so far. We are at full strength heading into this one, this Liverpool team. A little bit of mixed motivation for them going into this one, having finished second in the Premier League. That does mean that they are already qualified for the Champions League for next season. That is one big thing that we could get out of this Europa League final if we can win it, as well as our first bit of European silverware. But countering the fact that they have already qualified for the Champions League will be the fact the Conference League final has been played and their Merseyside rivals Everton won the Conference League. So no doubt that's going to give Liverpool a lot of motivation to one up their rivals from across Merseyside. But as I said, this is going to be a very tough challenge for us, the toughest that we've had so far in the Europa League since dropping down from the Champions League at the end of 2028. But as I said, we are at full strength going into this one, and without any further ado, we'll come back shortly from Portugal for this Europa League final, Völsungur versus Liverpool. And here are the team sheets for this Europa League final. We are up first at full strength with that injury to Zimmerman, considered an extended bench for this Europa League final. So we do have a lot of options. There is the Liverpool team looking a lot stronger than what we did just see before on the club info page, a lot closer to the lineup which we did see at the end of yesterday's episode. They should be a lot better than us, but you never know. Hopefully we can pick up our first European trophy here in the Europa League final. And 9 minutes gone, the first highlight of this final. It's a free kick to Liverpool. They put it towards the near post. We do give the ball away off the back of that, trying to clear it. Sunderberger gets his head on the end of that straight into the arms of Sarah Fellini, and it does remain 0-0 coming up to the quarter of an hour mark. We are just going to play around with our mentality in this game, and time for the Mark Richardson.
Yeah,
because Brynjar Galtason is going to be forced from the field here with an injury. Rosario Renzi to come on for him, but that is an early unneeded blow for us there. 0-0 though, still coming up to the 20-minute mark of this final. And up to the 45-minute mark here for our next highlights. We have held on so far here in the first half, but Mohamed Salah starts to cut inside, takes a long-range shot, and Mo Salah running in from that right wing just blasts one into the bottom left corner. What a goal, and it gives Liverpool the lead right on the stroke of half-time. It's a simple routine from a throw, but even when Salah got the ball there, didn't look too threatening. He gets around Alejandro Meza and just curves one into the bottom left corner. Not much we can do about that, and we're 1-0 down here going into half-time, as I said earlier, before that injury to Galtason. Have been playing around with the mentality, just trying to get on top of these guys when we get the chance, very similar to what we did do against Bayer Leverkusen earlier on in the Europa League knockouts, but that is a bitter blow right on the stroke of half-time. We will go positive now, try and up the tempo and get back into this one, as we are now 1-0 down, kicking off the second half of the Europa League final. And 50 minutes gone, first highlight of the second half. It's a free kick here to Liverpool. Gio Reyna gets in behind the defence forces. A good save there out of Sierra Fellaini, and he was onside, so the goal would have counted. A good save there from Sierra Fellaini, and then they get a shot off there from the corner, and we scramble it out to Benjamin Rubio. Can he get in behind Alexander Arnold? He cannot. Passes that to Harry Kane. Still 1-0 Liverpool early here in the second half of this Europa League final, and not too long off the back of that, another highlight here in Liverpool's favour. Harry Kane playing as a midfielder today. Another chance here for Gio Reyna. Sierra Fellaini tips that onto the crossbar. Another scrambly clearance from us there, and we hold on to that 1-0 deficit with just over a half hour left. Now I think we are going to make our first substitution at this time as well. Benjamin Rubio up front. Hasn't had too many chances to get involved based on the highlights that we have seen, but on a 6.2, Fabio Mariano to come on for him. We need a goal here in this last half hour, and not too long off the back of that sub, we do have a throw. Mariano plays that out to Carlo. Is this our chance to get on the score sheet? Our first highlight that we have seen with us having a decent spell of possession so far in this final. Ian Carlo down the right puts them for Patrick Nygaard. Nicolosi back in there for Nygaard. It's a deflected shot. Frederick Larsson on the volley. Comes off the crossbar. Was that the chance? It remains 1-0 just after the hour mark, and we are going to make our last substitution now as well. Patrick Nygaard having a little bit of a shocker out there on a 6.3. We have lots of options on the bench for this one. I think we might go with the form option, which is a little bit interesting. Not what I was expecting to do, but Bjarki Bjarkason comes into this off the back of that hat-trick in our most recent game, so he might be the best option out there on the right wing, as we do need a goal inside this last half hour. And only a few minutes off the back of that last substitution that we have made, Liverpool on the counter-attack yet again. Gio Reyna on the attack. He has looked very threatening today without putting the ball in the back of the net. Back for Alexander Arnold. Salah back for Arnold. He tries to put that top left corner just over the bar. Still 1-0 Liverpool with 25 minutes left. And up to the 80-minute mark, it's a free kick here for Mo Salah. Tries to put that top left corner to grab a brace. It comes off the upright. Only 10 minutes left. I think we have to start trying to go for it now, as we are still 1-0 down in this Europa League final. And we're about to enter injury time of this Europa League final. Still 1-0 down. We need something to happen here inside these last 4 minutes. But the real killer here, we've had 0 shots on target compared to Liverpool's 10. And in the end, despite us going from positive to attacking to very attacking, from a low tempo to a higher tempo, and from short passing to much more direct passing, we could not do enough to beat Liverpool, and we do suffer a 1-0 defeat in the Europa League final, which actually doesn't sound like that bad of a result, especially when you consider a few seasons ago we did lose 3-0 in the Conference League final to Brighton, but in the end we never really looked that threatening against Liverpool. Just that one chance to Frederick Larsson in the second half, and that was it. Coming off of the crossbar, Liverpool could have quite easily scored more than one goal in that final. Just that wonder strike from Mo Salah late in the first half, and that is what will give them the Europa League title. That's one up over their Merseyside rivals in Everton. But in the end, as I said before, those shots on target, we actually created enough opportunities, but no shots on target. Absolutely impossible to score if you're doing that, and Liverpool absolutely outgunned us in the rest of those stats. So unfortunately, it wasn't to be a great run to that Europa League final, but we do suffer a 1-0 defeat to Liverpool in it, and we'll come back shortly and get started on our end of European season roundup. And back in the inbox, having gone forward a few days off the back of that loss in the Europa League final. As you can see just at the top there of our inbox, we've just had the Champions League review. But before we do get into the roundup of the results and whatnot from this past European season and from the major leagues as well, we'll see which teams are going to which competition for next season. We start off with a nice few paydays for our £790,000 from Champions League TV revenue and a very nice payday of near £8 million for our coefficient ranking from the Champions League as well. That is a very nice upgrade on the money that we have been receiving over the past few seasons, starting to get some reward for making the Champions League a little bit more consistently at this stage of the save. But we are going to start off having a look at what happened in the European competitions. First off, we will start off with the Conference League. Spoiled this earlier. It was won by Everton 3-1 after extra time in the final over Red Star. Up to the Europa League, you know exactly what happened in this one. Liverpool win it for the second time in 3 years off the back of that 1-0 win over us in the final. That wonder goal to Mo Salah right before half-time, proving oh so important. None of our players, unfortunately, appearing on any of the top player stats there for this competition. And we do go up to the Champions League, and the winner of that is Manchester United. They defeat Real Madrid 2-1 in the final to win that for the first time in this save universe since we did kick off this save. Benjamin Rubio second there in the top goal scorer ranks. I'll probably have to blank out the guy who tops that for Manchester United because of obvious reasons, but obviously a lot of Manchester United players topping the other player stat ranks there, considering that they did pick up the Champions League. So those are the winners of the European competitions for this past season. Now it's time for us to have a look at what happened in the top 5 leagues. First off, we will go over and have a look at the Premier League, and it was won yet again by Manchester City, 7 points clear of Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal, as well as Man United also find themselves entering the Champions League next year. Man United will get into that competition by winning the Champions League, and I think they might have got there anyway after Liverpool did pick up the Europa League as well, seeing as that would have given England an extra spot because of that. Anyway, Newcastle and Everton are in the Europa League. Of course, that's because Everton did pick up the Conference League, so that's a clean sweep for English teams in European competitions this season. And Brighton are back in European football. They will be in the Conference League. Hopefully, we don't have to deal with those guys after they have knocked us out of European football in these past few seasons. Then we go over to Serie A. Inter Milan pick up a pretty comfortable win in the Italian division by 8 points over Juventus, with AC Milan and Napoli being the other teams who will make their way into the Champions League next season. Sampdoria and Atalanta in the Europa League, and Roma will be the team in the Conference League. Going down now to La Liga, Real Madrid, the Champions League finalists, do win that very comfortably by 14 points over Barcelona, so that is a little bit of a surprise. The margin between those two sides, Athletic Club and Sevilla, are the other teams who will be in the Champions League. Valencia and Villarreal in the Europa League. Of course, a Valencia team who we did knock out in that first knockout round of the Europa League this time around. And Real Sociedad are going to be in the Conference League. Down to the Bundesliga, and it is Bayern Munich yet again who pick up a very comfortable win in that Bundesliga. RB Leipzig and Dortmund round out the top 3 alongside Bayer Leverkusen. They will be the teams in the Champions League for next year. The Bayer Leverkusen team who we also knocked out in the latter stages of the Europa League. Korn and Augsburg will be the teams in the Europa League, and Freiburg drop down to the Conference League this time around. And to round up our European wrap-up of the results part of it anyway, is Ligue 1 in France. PSG, as expected, pick up this trophy very comfortably by 18 points over Nice and Lille. They're the teams who will be in the Champions League. Montpellier and Lyon in the Europa League, and Nimes do round off the European qualification from the top 5 leagues by making the Conference League. Interesting to see that Monaco continue to really struggle in the French league in this save universe. But before we do get forward a little bit more and see what's happened in terms of the official rankings, in terms of the league, our club, and also the coefficient, we'll do a little bit of a preview of what is going to happen in the coefficient for this upcoming season. We should be jumping up to 14th because with our work that we have done this season, as I scroll down just a little bit, we do go up from a 30.25 to a 34.625. We weren't that far off overtaking someone like Turkey, but in the end, we are going to quite clearly jump above Denmark, albeit that was very important that we did pick up that 9.875 this season, because if we go and have a look down, as mentioned in yesterday's episode, Austria had a really good season thanks to Red Bull Salzburg's work in making the semi-finals of that Europa League. They make a good jump up to 32.2 coefficient points, but we have done enough to stay above them, and we will be going up by one solitary position on the coefficient table at the end of this season. But hopefully we can keep building on that, and what that should mean for Champions League qualification is that we now do enter in the third qualifying round instead of the second qualifying round, which we are going to do at the start of this upcoming season. But that's the initial wrap up of the European season, but we'll just come back in a little bit of time and have a look at the club rankings and also the league rankings as well. And we've gone forward to mid-June for when the new European season does tick over, and a few ranking updates and coefficient table updates to bring you guys. First things first, don't get too worried about those injuries there in the top left because both of them are very, very minor ones. Those guys should be fine for the start of the next European campaign, which we will get into at the start of the next episode. But first off, competition rankings. The Islands dealt in the top division here in Iceland has risen up just 2 places. Not a big rise, especially considering that we did make a Europa League final, but still making our way up that table just somewhat. Obviously, it would be a bit helpful if other teams from Iceland started to perform in European competition. Hopefully, this upcoming season is the year that that does happen, now that our teams are entering European qualification at a slightly later stage and having more teams in European qualifying as well. We have risen up a bit more significantly in the European club rankings, going up from 24th to 17th. Man United go from 3rd to 1st off the back of their Champions League win. But we go over to the 5-year ranking table, and you can see we are on the front page, splitting teams like Napoli and Lille. So we are certainly in amongst the big clubs of Europe these days off the back of making that Europa League final to go alongside the Conference League final that we did make a few seasons ago. And another thing that we do bring you guys is a rise up the coefficient table. This makes it absolutely official. We have gone up to 14th from 15th, overtaking Denmark. That doesn't change too much. The only change that it does influence is when the champions of Iceland do enter Champions Path qualifying for the Champions League. We will now enter in the third qualifying round instead of the second qualifying round, which is what the change will be at the end of this coming season, coming into effect at the start of the next one, which is about to start in the next episode. So we've got one season of entering Champions League qualifying in the second qualifying round, and off the back of that, we are jumping up to entering in the third qualifying round, provided that we do still continue to win the domestic league here in Iceland. But that is a good little jump, continuing to just make ever so slight steps up that coefficient table and getting closer to hopefully earning an automatic group spot in the not too distant future through our work on that coefficient table. But we'll go forward just a little bit more and try and get to that Champions League draw for the second qualifying round to see who we are going to be playing in our first European qualifying game of the new season. And going forward a few days, we have had the draw for the Champions League qualifying for this upcoming season, 2029-2030. As I said before, we are now entering in the second qualifying round for the first time in this save. Can skip that first qualifying round. We are playing the winner of the tie in the first round between Bala Town of Wales and Sarajevo of Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's a team, I believe, who we've beaten in past qualifying campaigns, so I think we should be fairly safe getting past those guys. And if we do win that tie, then we will be guaranteed a spot in the group stages of a European competition yet again for the upcoming season. But we are certainly these days aiming to be a team who at worst enters the Europa League, but hopefully we can make the Champions League for the third straight season, and maybe without a team like Liverpool dropping down to the Europa League, might get a chance to potentially lift that trophy come the end of this upcoming European season. And we will go over, have a quick look now at the coefficient table yet again, seeing as it has been updated off the back of the tick over of the new European season. We have jumped up to 14th. Denmark slide down to 16th, with Austria moving up to 15th. We are not too far behind the likes of Turkey and Scotland and Russia in particular, and also Ukraine not too far above us. Probably shouldn't mention those last two in the same sentence, but I think it's okay in terms of coefficient table. But if we have a good season here, we're getting rid of a 6.625, so we're getting rid of a better season than we did last time around. But if we can try and match what we did this season, or at least reach the last couple of stages of a European competition, hopefully we can get something close to that 9.875 and continue to work our way up that table. We might even be on for sneaking into an automatic group stage spot at the end of this upcoming season, or at least in the next couple of seasons anyway, but certainly making good progress here in this Build a Nation challenge, albeit looking down a little bit further, the likes of Denmark and Croatia are going to be gaining a bit of ground on us based on the years they are getting rid of this upcoming season as well. So we definitely need to have a decent year this upcoming year, and hopefully we can continue our rise up the coefficient chart and start entering even later in the Champions League in future seasons. But that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, falling short in the Europa League final against Liverpool, albeit wasn't too unexpected, it is fair to say, and doing the European roundup where we do get just a slight bump up in the coefficient rankings and a decent jump up in the team rankings as well. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this Build a Nation save here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Warning, there's probably not going to be a video tomorrow. Unfortunately, while I was doing my self-isolation last week, a good friend of mine died of cancer after a fairly lengthy battle, and the funeral for that is tomorrow afternoon during my usual filming time. So it's more than likely there will not be a video coming out on Thursday morning New Zealand time, Wednesday night UK time, but we'll come back the day after that, and it won't affect the flow of things too much because we are going to jump straight back in to the second qualifying round of the new Champions League season. So really it's just going to be skipping over where we would have played the first qualifying round matchup from the last few seasons, taking on the winner of that tie between Barlatown and Sarajevo. But no video tomorrow. Hopefully you guys understand, with me going to a funeral. But off the back of that, we will jump straight back in to Champions League qualification. Also do a bit of an introduction to some new players here at Völsungur as well, because I have actually made a signing in amongst what's happened in today's episode, but we'll save that for the next episode where we do get into that new European season. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you for the start of the new European season in a few days' time. Cheers.